Hello, everyone. This is Rose. Today's topic from the Book of Life is what do you do when your grown ass sons do not want you to date anyone? Doesn't matter who it is, they don't want you dating. What in the beeswax, yes, I said beeswax, is going on when your sons are in their 30s and crying because you are dating someone? Let's talk about it. Okay. Now, I have to say this to Curtis, one of her sons, the oldest son. Curtis, should you hear this podcast, don't come jumping in my face. You know, you and your mama and I are close. You know we close, and you know I got my sister friend back. I got her back. You and your brother Pookie are wrong. Y'all wrong. I'm going to stay out of it by holding back what I'm really thinking and want to say, because I want to invite the listeners to give words of wisdom. You guys need some help. Seriously do. Okay. But anyway, back to the story. Okay. Now, my good friend, Pat, my sister friend, we have been friends for years. Her ex husband left her and their two sons when the boys were in elementary school. Now, we're going to call him Mr. And the reason why we're going to call him Mr. is because I don't want to have any problems from Mr. should I mistakenly use his real name. So I got to keep it in my brain that his name is Mr. for this story. Sometimes I have slip-ups, but I'm going to try hard not to have a slip-up because I don't want no problems. He can't come at me crazy, okay? Because I'm going to give it back to him. I'm not Pat. Anyway. Okay, now he left his boys and his wife when the boys were in elementary school. He decided, his sorry butt decided that he didn't want to no longer be a husband or a father or a provider. Obviously, that's the statement he was making because he just up and left without any word as to why. He didn't say nothing to Pat about we having problems in the marriage. That's the thing. That's what made it so frustrating for Pat. That is what hurt her so bad because Pat thinking that she has this wonderful marriage. Everything is going good. They doing them. No complaints. He never complained about your cooking, your cleaning, because Pat is a clean woman. She cooks well. She keep her house together. And so for him to just up and leave, that's the only thing she can equate it to is that, okay, you tired of being a husband, a father, and a provider because you just straight up left. Now, what Pat found out, here's the thing. Pat finds out that his sorry butt moves out of state, moves to another state to be with another woman and her kids. Go figure. Make that make sense. You leave your two kids, but you go move in a house with a woman who got a bunch of little kids, more than two. And the thing is, Pat kind of, went through things and kind of figured things out when she came across a bill for airline tickets on their credit card when the bill came in the mail. So she kind of pieced things together to know that he was out of the state. And of course, she had a good friend, me, to help her. I'm good with detective work. I know. But anyway, I'm helping my friend out. So now he moves in with this woman, and we continue to investigate. I'm helping her, and I said, "Well, Pat, maybe this is not a lover. Maybe he is a relative. Maybe it's a friend." Mm-mm. No, I was trying to console Pat, trying to help her feel a little better about what had happened to her. I said, "Don't jump to any conclusions. It may not be nothing." But oh, let me tell you what sorry butt did. His sorry ass, he deserved the word ass, not butt. His sorry ass posted it on Facebook. Posted that he purchased an engagement ring for her and that they were engaged. Put it on Facebook for his family to be humiliated and to see it. He posted on Facebook like a knucklehead. But then at the same time, it gave Pat clarity as to what was actually happening. Okay, so now she knows that Mr. is not coming back. Mr. is in another state. It's time to think differently. It's time to move on. It's time to mourn only for a moment because you got two boys to raise. You still got a household to run. Mr. is out of the picture. So what you need to do next is make sure Mr. pays some child support. Make sure if he's not going to come back and divorce his butt and get some child support. He got to take care of his sons. Let him go. If he don't want to be there with you, let him go. You can do bad. You could all by yourself. You don't need to have him there making life miserable for you. Pick yourself up, turn yourself around. Life is not over for you. And that's the words of encouragement I gave to Pat. It's time to move. Keep moving. Mourn if you have to, but don't do it forever because you got a household to run and you got those two boys. Okay. Now, the thing is, when Mr. left, the oldest son, Curtis, was 10 years old. And Pookie, the youngest son, Pookie was 6 years old. Yeah, because Curtis is 4 years older than Pookie. So Pookie was only 6 years old at the time his dad left. So, but Pat, it's a hard thing on a woman when you don't know what's going on and your husband just leave and you have no indication what did I do wrong, because that's what a woman gonna do. She gonna always blame herself. She ain't gonna say, oh, he's having a midlife crisis, or he's smelling himself, or whatever the case may be, and he wants to go out there and think he can do better outside of his family or whatever. A woman is gonna blame herself first. And Pat she didn't know how to blame herself because he never said, oh, I'm sick and tired of this, I'm sick and tired of that, you ain't doing this, you ain't doing that. He never gave any indication as to what was going wrong in their household. So now, how does she fix it? How does she know how to correct herself for anybody else to come into her life and accept her? So what that did, that put Pat in a state of, slightly isolating herself from the world, slightly depression. She couldn't stay there because she had to take care of her boys now. And the thing is, but it put a stronghold. She developed a stronghold against men to where she did not feel comfortable with dating. She didn't want to date anyone because she felt like all men, she boxed them all into the same category. All of y'all ain't nothing but a bunch of lying cheaters that wants to run away from your commitment and your responsibility. And that's the way she saw them. And I know that was not the truth, but how do I get her to see things differently when she's the one who's hurting, when she's the one that's in pain? As her friend, yeah, I want to be able to tap into her emotions and bring her some type of comfort. But how do I? How do I do that? I was, all I can do is just be there for her and be an ear to help her when she wanted to vent. But I wasn't going to leave my friend alone. So anyway, Pat, for, a couple of years, few years, she just moping around, don't want to socialize, don't want to go out and do anything, go to work, take care of her household, take care of her boys, and that's it. I'm like, okay, this got to end. You cannot let your life sink down. You go down here because Mr. is over there living his life, living his best life with his new family. He's posting it on Facebook all the time. So you can't allow yourself to be over here miserable because of what he did, because of his actions. You didn't do anything wrong. So I have been donating clothes to this nonprofit organization for women. And the thing about this nonprofit, they are totally into the growth and enhancement of women. They would educate them if they needed to get their GED, high school diploma. They would educate them if they had problems in their life where, they was in abusive situation. They would bring them in and help them through that. They would feed their families, their kids, because these women were mainly was single parents. And this organization helped them tremendously. I mean, it would help them to teach them how to write a resume, how to interview for a job. It would help them write the resume. It would give them skills on how to interview properly and go get a job. So I would donate clothes, for them because so they would accept a donation of clothes for the women to wear when they go on interviews. And so I said, well, let me talk to someone in this organization and see how they can be a help to Pat. So they talked about having this women's group that come together. They come together once a week and they would talk about, issues. Um, it may not fit what Pat was going through 100% because Pat, she was not in an abusive relationship, but it's still a psychological, mental type of abuse by to just walk out on your family because that's what he did. He did damage to her psyche, to her mental stability by walking out and she not knowing the reason why. So Pat started attending this group and it helped her. I could see it gave her the wisdom and the words that I could not give to her, that I didn't know what to say. And I could see my friend changing after 18 months of attending this group. She began to change. She no longer began to box men into the same category. She began to see herself in a different light and she was ready to date again. She began to talk to me and said that she was open. She was open and ready to dating. And, I'm all for it. Hey, girl, I can help you out. I can introduce you to a few people. So she ended up, I took her where, she can meet some men, of course, church, other places, Home Depot. Go in there, act like you need some help. As one of the guys walking through there, can you help me with this? They see, you don't have no ring on. Exchange information. So I kind of helped her out a little bit, gave her some ideas on how she could meet some men. And it worked. I was not with her, but it worked. She took some of my advice. And I told Pat, I said, when you start dating, you're not dating exclusively. You're just dating. Don't stop with the first man because you ain't gotta lay with nobody. You let them know your standards. You're here to date. You're here to get to know you. So therefore, you openly dating doesn't mean you in a relationships in that way. You ain't gotta lay with nobody. You're dating. You getting to know somebody. Date more than one man because you can't put all your eggs into one basket, assuming because he's nice, he's smiling, he kicking that in your face that all is good. He got a job. No, get to know. Date about three, and then based on that, you got a comparison. You can see which one best fits you and you can see the connection. It'll be a different connection between each one and the one that is feeling you that you're feeling. Then that's the one if you want to date him singly by himself and let go of the other two, do that. So that's what Pat did. So around this time, when she started dating, the youngest boy, Pookie, he was a freshman because see, it took her time. It took her a long time to get to this point. Pookie was 6 years old when his dad left, and he was a freshman in high school when she started dating. So it took her a long time to get to that point where she was ready to date. Pain is something. It's a slow process to gain to being confident in yourself and feeling good about yourself and accepting that this is what I'm gonna do. So it took her a while, and Pookie was a freshman in school, and Curtis was in the 12th grade. He was at the start. It was the start of school for them. I remember this because Curtis had just went to the 12th grade, and Pookie had just started. They had just started attending the same school together. And so what happened was she was dating, and she was dating three guys, and she would talk to me about these three guys. But she hit it off with this one guy. His name is Jerome. Her and Jerome, I mean, she was mesmerized by Jerome. Jerome really liked him some Pat. The other two guys, you can tell she would say from the things she would tell me, they were just waiting around to see how long it was going to take them to get the cookie. That's all it was. And she felt that. She felt there was no connection there. They were just being patient long enough to see how long it was going to take them to get there. And so I say, well, Pat, it's up to you. You can let in it with them since you already know what it's all about with them and continue with your own. Because that's the purpose of having three. Now you get a chance to see the difference in how this dating world goes. So stick it out with Jerome. And that's what she did. Jerome really liked him some Pat. They stayed in that relationship together. And he accepted the fact when she told him, my boys are young. They're in high school. One is a freshman, one is a senior. I don't want to introduce any man into their life until I know that this is going to be a serious relationship. We're in an exclusive, serious relationship. And that's what she told Jerome. Jerome was fine with that because the thing about Jerome, he's a family man. Although he's a single man and didn't have any kids of his own, he was a family man. Pat later learned as the years went on, that Jerome and his family was very close. His parents were still together. Him and his siblings, they communicated often. His family would come together quarterly, every 3 months, at their parents' house on a Sunday for dinner. That's how they kept their bond together. That's how they had like that little mini family reunion of their immediate family only. How they came together every 3 months and they never missed it. And that's the beautiful thing about Jerome. He was family oriented. So he respected the fact that she wasn't ready to introduce anyone to her sons or have anyone come her to her home. So Jerome was very patient. He was fine with that. No problem. Pat would often go to Jerome's house. He would pick her up sometimes for dinner when he took her out to dinner, took her out to the movies. He would pick her up, but the boys never witnessed their mom getting in the car with him. Lucky Pat, because she would have had to answer questions about that. But luckily, she didn't have to. A lot of times, she would, just drive her car over to his house, and he would trail her whenever they go on a date. She would go over there, and then he would trail her home to make sure she got in the house okay, and make sure she parked her car, got in the house okay. She would do that a lot of times because she was fearful of him picking her up too much and the boys seeing him. And Jerome went along with it. He was fine with whatever she wanted to do. Now, to fast forward, Jerome and Pat getting together, hanging tight. By this time, by the time they began to get serious, into a serious relationship where they was confessing their love to each other, Curtis, the oldest one, he was out of school. And he had graduated, long graduated, and Pookie was the only one that was still in school. But Pookie was now in high school. He was he was a senior. Of course, he was in high school, but he's a senior at this time. He getting ready to graduate. So now they are getting serious. Pookie is getting ready to graduate, and Jerome is feeling confident that now that Pookie is graduating, maybe now my girl would feel a little bit more better about telling the boys about me. Mm-mm. Pat said she did because Jerome asked Pat about being exclusive. He told Pat that he wanted to take their relationship to the next level. And Pat agreed. She agreed. But at the same time, even though Pookie had graduated high school, she still was slowing down and hesitating and coming up with excuses why she did not want Jerome to come to the house. She's still going to his house. She started telling the boys when the boys was out of high school. Now, Pookie is going to this trade school where he's learning how to work in IT. Curtis had went to he did college for 2 years. He got out of college and he found him a job and he's been working on his job. But she making excuses to her boys as to where she going on the weekends. She's having girl trips. Every weekend she going on a girl trip. And they accept it. And the reason why I know her boys accept it is because they've been slipping girls in that house on the weekend when mama is out having been on a so-called girl trip, but she's actually with Jerome. She's at Jerome's house. She's on the other side of town with Jerome. So this going on, and Jerome is loving him some Pat and still dealing with it. I mean, you're talking years of this, and finally, Pookie, 27 years old at this point, because I'm pushing it forward, I'm moving it forward because it's basically repetitive, the same thing going on. So now Pookie is 27. He's 27 and he decided it's time to move out of mama house. And the only reason why he decided that is because he got serious with this one girl that told him that I'm tired of have to sneak her into your mama house when she's on her girls trip or when she's not home. And now that Pat is now at home more on the weekend, she's not going over to Jerome's house every weekend because Jerome had work out of town sometimes. And sometimes the travel is on the weekend. So she's only going maybe once or twice a month to Jerome's house on the weekend. So that's interfering with Pookie sugar time with his girls. And he's in one serious relationship, but he's still playing the field. We know he is because Pat sees it. She sees the evidence all over the house. But anyhow, so Pookie girlfriend is pressuring him to move out. You 27 years old. You got a job in IT. You can take care of yourself. It's time for you to leave your mama house. So Pookie tells his mama he's ready to move out. Pat is helping him find a place because she wants him out about as fast as he wants to move out because she's ready to invite Jerome over because she ran out of excuses. She can't keep pacifying Jerome on why he can't come to the house. And they are now in an exclusive, serious relationship. Well, I haven't met your boys. So Pat figured that'd help things out with Jerome by helping Pookie to hurry up and get out, and now Jerome can come over. So Pookie moves out, and Jerome started coming over, and he coming over every weekend. He's spending time at Pat house, and he's telling Pat, he say, "Okay, I'm glad that now I stuck it out with you because I love you, and I can see that you are the woman that I know you to be." He said, because let me tell you something about a man. He said, a man judges a woman based on how she keep herself up and how she keep her house up and how she her kids. He look at a man look at that. If the kids are respectful, how they dress, how they look like they well groomed, they fed, they dress nicely, your house is clean, you keep yourself looking well. I know you're a good woman. I felt you was a good woman. I knew you were. That's why I hung in here with you without me coming to your house. I respect your wishes. He said, but coming to your house, I see. I want to take this to more than being exclusive. He said, I want to marry you, Pat. And he told him, Pat, but I cannot be your husband, become your husband, and your boys don't know nothing about me. So he tells Pat, he says, we have to. I know your boys is not living at home, but they need to know that I've been in your life for over 14 years, that I've been here for you. They need to know who I am. They need to know that we've been going exclusively for years. And now I'm ready to take it to the next level. I want to marry you, Pat. He said, but you got to introduce me to your boys. It's more than just bringing me to your home now. He said, he said, I'm a family man. And Pat agreed. Pat said, okay. She agreed. So Jerome decided to show her by example. So what he did was he invited Pat to his family next quarterly dinner, they gathering. He told his family all about Pat. He invited Pat to meet his family, and Pat went and met his family. And just as she clicked with Jerome right away, they hit it off right away. The same happened with his family. She see where Jerome gets his morals and his values from and his personality because his family, they all were the same. Very sweet, very respectful. They loved her. And they told her, they said, yeah, Pat, Jerome told us all about you. He's been talking about you for years. And we're happy to finally meet you. And then they tells her, where's your boys? Pat made up an excuse. She lied to his family about her boys. That bothered Jerome, but he didn't say anything. He didn't embarrass her in front of his family. But he later, after it was over with and he took her back home, he later told her how he don't lie to his family and he didn't like it when she lied to his family. He said, it's time for me to meet your boys so you don't have to lie to my family anymore. He said, I got to meet your boys. So Pat said, okay. This time she knew it was serious because Jerome wasn't playing no more. He put his foot down. He told her, this is it. Your boys are grown men. You have to introduce me. So Pat decided she would do what Jerome did, and she decided to have a family dinner, invited her boys over, but she didn't tell them that Jerome was coming. So the boys come over for dinner. She expressed to them that she wanted to see her boys and she wanted them to have dinner together since they moved out the house. They have been scattered. They haven't communicated. They haven't came together as a family. And so the boys did. They came over and goes to show you they're different from Jerome's family because Curtis came without his girl and his daughter. And of course, Pookie was in a serious relationship, but he came without his girlfriend. So when they get there, Jerome is there. So they give Jerome a side eye. They looking him up and down. They looking at him, but they didn't say nothing. You could tell by the way they was looking. Pat says she can tell that their mind was rushing a mile a minute. They probably had a whole lot they wanted to say, but decided they would wait and see what was going to happen. That made Pat nervous and scared. So Pat hurry up and put dinner on the table. She just figured we get to eating, we could rush this thing through before the boys say anything. Now Jerome is looking at Pat like, when are you gonna introduce me as your man, your soon to be fiance to your boys? So Jerome ain't saying nothing. And they eat dinner, get dinner out the way. And after they get dinner out the way, now the boys is doing more than looking at Jerome sideways with a side eye. They looking at him like, who is this man? Who is this man? So all of a sudden, baby boy, Pookie, he decided he want to ask Jerome a lot of questions. He throwing questions at Jerome. You ain't gave him one chance to answer one. And then Curtis decided to piggyback him, jump on it, and start asking a lot of questions. Jerome looking at them like, okay, Jerome looking at them like, well, how do they expect me to answer the questions when they throwing tons of questions at me? So Jerome he said, one at a time, please. One at a time. Pat said he was very humble. He didn't raise his voice. He just looked at them and said, one at a time, please. I can only answer one question at a time. So then Pookie said, who the hell are you and where did you come from? So that's Pookie first question then. So since one at a time, who the hell are you and where did you come from? So Pookie asked him that. And Pat jumped in at that point. She intervened. She finally opened her mouth and intervened and said something. She jumps in and because she didn't want Jerome to answer it. So she began to tell the boys about how her and Jerome have been dating for over 14 years and that they have become exclusively dating about 7 years ago. And she said that they are getting very serious in their relationship. And so Pookie is like, how serious? What the hell you mean serious? How serious? So that's Pookie. Curtis sat there quiet. And that made Pat nervous because Pat could see he'd turned 3 shades of red. And he frowning as he just staring at Jerome. So he's not saying nothing. And he's just staring at Jerome. So he just listening to his mama talk. And she's telling him that, I should have introduced y'all to him sooner, but I just felt like y'all was too young to, get acquainted with anybody. And I didn't want to introduce anyone I was dating unless I became serious. So Pookie was like, well, you said you was exclusively dating him 7, 8 years ago. Why didn't you introduce us then? And all of a sudden, Curtis jumps up. He said, my mama ain't dating no damn body. She ain't dating no damn body. She don't need nobody. He looked at his mama and he got tears coming down his eyes. Now he's 31 years old. Tears is coming down his eyes. And he said, why do you need to date? You don't need to date nobody. Taking care of your boys is a full-time commitment and relationship. You don't need to date anyone. Your husband is gone. Our daddy is gone. You don't need to date nobody. Your commitment is to your sons in this household only. So Pat said, no, that's not true. And so Curtis began to get loud and start to curse and get and Pookie started horning in because he's setting the fire up under Pookie and he gotta jump in and Pat said it was getting out of control. So she told because Jerome is a man and he's not and he can't say anything because these are her sons. It's not like these are some dudes from the streets that he could defend his woman. These are her sons. So he's standing there like, what the heck? Because see, when Curtis jumped up, he jumped up. I'm not going to sit and you jumping up. So he's standing there looking at them like, what the heck do I do? So at that point, Pat asked Jerome if he would leave so she can talk to her boys. And Jerome left. He left. And Pookie and Curtis was beside themselves. When Pat told me the things they said, and that if they catch Jerome at the house again, I'm like, what the heck? These are some grown ass men acting like toddlers, telling their mama that she can't date anyone and threatening to hurt her man if he come back to their house that their father built, that their father lived in. And here your daddy is still posting pictures on Facebook about him and the woman he's with that he haven't married yet, that he gave her engagement ring 2 years ago, and still posting her kids' pictures like they his kids. And you gonna tell your mama she can't have no happiness? You gonna tell your mama she can't be in a relationship? You gonna threaten to break her man's legs? What's wrong with y'all? Pat needs some help. The type of help she needs, I can't give it to her. I cannot help her the way I helped her when she was going through and I introduced her to that group at the women's place, at the nonprofit organization for women. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help her. She's my friend and I hate to see her go through this. And I know Pat, she loves her boys. She's not going to let go of her boys. See, some people would have been like, y'all grown. Y'all are some grown ass men. You have your own life. I have my life. You ain't got to come over here. Stay your tail over there and take care of your family and do you, and I'm going to do me over here. See, that's me. But Pat is not me. And I have to, I have to be compassionate to everybody. Don't think the way I think. So anybody that had any experience with this and know how to deal with this, shoot some comments of some wisdom in the comments because Pat needs some help. And see, this thing is still going on to today. Now Pat and Jerome is still in the same position. He coming over to the house, but the boys don't come home that much. But they're not getting married. They're not getting engaged because Pat is honoring her boys and she's scared of what her boys is going to do to Jerome. So they continue in their relationship as is. And that's not fair to Jerome. He's a good man and she's going to lose him and she needs some help. So whatever comments or wisdom that you can give that I can share with Pat that can help get her through this so she can marry the man of her dreams, the one who was there for her when her own husband was not there, the one who was committed in the way that her husband was not committed. Now, she's divorced from her husband. Don't get me wrong. But she can't let this one get away. I don't know what to tell him. Help a sister out. So remember to click that subscribe button, thumbs, whatever it is. You get a bell, get a subscribe button, whatever it is, click it so you can get notifications of the next story from the Book of Life. Be blessed. Peace, people. I'm out. Have a good day. Until next week.